Brilliant. Thank you very much, both of you. That was really interesting to hear about the research that's being done and informing particular decisions in Scottish Water. And it's great to see other water companies involved as well. We've received a bunch of questions. I'd like to because we had those delays earlier on, just so everyone knows, I'd like to go until 10 past so that we have that chance to be able to answer some of the questions. Now, Amanda Crossfield from Yorkshire Water has asked what emission scenario was used. It was indeed 8.5. I know that, I saw that.
Yep.
And by the way, all the slides are available online already on the website. But she has another question, Dawn, here. Does the model include parameters around peat health? For example, bare peat versus nice, wet, deep peat?
The model at the moment doesn't actually include soil parameters within it. The modeling that we've been doing is site specific, and so is only taking into account variation in the climate parameters. What we're finding is that if we compare across sites, we can see that there is an effect on the model coefficients of the amount of peat soil in a catchment, but we haven't looked at soil health. It would be an interesting area to look at if we were to go into this in more detail, but we haven't in the time available been able to do that yet.
I've got one more here around you sort of, in your diagram around, resilience, you had current measures, mitigation, and adaptive capacity. So, and this is probably a question for both of you, in fact. I mean, besides funding and investment in new treatments works, what kind of additional adaptive capacities are needed?
Yeah, I guess that's more of a question for the industry, but in my figure with the intervention chain, there's quite a lot that can potentially be done that doesn't involve this adaptive investment if catchments can be managed differently. And there may also be these options that might be relatively low cost with respect to changes in reservoir management, but they are going to be extremely site specific, and I suspect in most cases it will be the industry people on the ground who will have the best understanding of what's possible there.
Yeah, as Don says, and there's also a whole range of other factors that go into industry decision making that's not been made in isolation just for TOC. There's a range of other water quality parameters and decisions that go into any investment decision. But by doing catchment or reservoir management, it takes away some of that risk or uncertainty in for future projections. Can we slow the rate of increase? And by intervening now and doing work now, it has then longer term benefits that will perhaps make decision making easier in years to come.
Okay, thank you. Susie, could you let Amanda Crossfield ask this question? Next one, because it's got an acronym that I'm not familiar with, and so I think she could explain what that means when she asked that question. Hopefully Amanda's still with us.
Hello, I am still with you. Can you hear me all right?
Go for it.
Yeah, I was just wondering what happens once we get above 200 Hazen and we can no longer treat that water with MyX. What's our option after that? Is there one?
Again, I think that's more an industry question, really. That your engineers will know what the potential is. So ultimately, there'll be investment decisions, I guess, in terms of what's viable. Fraser might want to add to that.
Well, yeah, the 200 Hazen is an arbitrary value that I think has been used in some of the work, just as, but you know, in every water supply system, there will be, as I said, about a different design envelope that it can currently treat, and it's once it goes above thresholds for that treatment works, then a range of options will need to be looked at, and you know, additional treatment stages are, you know, as part of that. But it's often, you know, trying to minimize future risk as much as, you know, planning for and increasing the resilience of these systems, not just for long-term change, but also for short-lived events as well, that can often cause more difficulties for the treatment process than the longer-term change.
I had a quick question for you, Don. In that plot where you had climate resilience, and then you had the three blobs, you know, the last one being red, which would cause, you know, millions of pounds having to be spent. One thing I didn't quite understand is in the assessment of, because you assessed quite a lot of different sites. So yep. Through this research, are you able to actually put, I think, the 50 sites on that spectrum from, you know, not such a big problem all the way to quite a big problem?
Yes, that's exactly what we're intending to do, using that as a framework that we can drop sites into and move those sites depending on what our forecasts are. So that as a conceptual model, it's relatively new. We're still thrashing out the detail in it, and we may modify it a little, but essentially that does give us that framework within which we can drop sites and move them around as they respond to climate change.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, both of you, and thanks for everyone who has continued to watch the webinar. Apologies for those delays early on. I just want to make a couple of announcements before we finish. In 2 weeks' time, we'll have Professor Neil MacDonald come and talk to us about the project they finished, which was bringing together historical geographers, engineers to try to bridge this kind of quantitative and qualitative divide. So do come and join us if you can. And then the following webinar will be by Lisa Collins, Professor Lisa Collins from the University of Leeds. Will talk to us about smart systems approaches for climate resilient livestock production with a particular focus on pigs. So do join us. That's on the 2nd of December. So finally, thanks very much. As I said, the website has got the slides of the seminar, I think, are already up there. And once the recording is out, we'll let you all know. So yeah, thanks again, Don and Fraser, and see you and everyone in a couple of weeks' time. Okay.
Yeah, thank you everybody for listening, and apologies for those technical problems at the beginning.
Okay, bye.